Growing up as a child, I remember my mother didn't take me to the grocery store very often. I was a high energy kind of kid. Surprise. And every time my mom would bring me to the store, she said every time I'd bring you, it just cost more money because I would throw stuff in the cart. But on those holy, sacred times that my mom did offer me the invitation to go to the store, it went something like this. She'd get a cart and I would take off to my favorite aisle. And this aisle, to a 7-year-old, was magical. It had what I loved from the very top shelf to the bottom shelf and to the right and to the left. It was utopia for me. I would just sit there and look. Now, it wasn't the candy aisle. Figured which one it is. The cereal aisle. Are you kidding me? The cereal aisle. And what I would do is, as soon as we entered the store, I went to the cereal aisle because I could pick out one box of cereal. And I would just sit there. Alphabets. Lucky Charms. Oh, you can't go wrong with Lucky Charms. Well, here's a healthy one. Sugar Smacks. Now, this is what my mindset was all week. How do I open up my sermon with naming as many cereals as possible? Here's one. I don't even know if they even make it anymore. But I used to look for it. It was kind of like a cereal that had sugar on top of sugar. It was called Kaboom. Anybody? Kaboom. That was one funky kind of cereal, let me tell you. Cocoa Krispies. Are you kidding me? You're just left with chocolate milk. Yeah. 2 in 1. Now, my wife Lynn doesn't take me to the grocery store very often. I'm a high energy adult. But man, on those times that she does, is that thing morphed or what? Now it's top to bottom, all the way to the left, all the way. It's one whole aisle of cereal. Are you kidding me? I mean, there is high fiber, extra fiber, no fiber. There's marshmallows and some peanut butter of every size, every taste, and every texture. If I was a 7-year-old living today, I couldn't handle that cereal aisle. I would imagine that Mr. Kellogg would hardly imagine the creative ingenuity over the past 100 years to change plain porridge, oatmeal, into these toasty grains. Now, what does the cereal aisle at the grocery store have to do with the 10 Commandments? Everything. Everything. That cereal aisle is filled with creativity, with thinking outside the box. Because the cereal aisle I grew up in 50 years ago is not your present day cereal aisle. And it began to make me think about our failure oftentimes as believers, as disciples, in expanding our faith. What an appropriate song the kids just sang. Of change, of growing in hope and creativity, of insight as disciples, of believers, and as a church. And it forces us to ask, why are we so often unwilling to color outside the lines and have our own guitar riff? the Spirit moves us to do so. Why are we so afraid of our creativity, concluding that there must be no more room in the inn for me to expand my faith or be challenged to greater insights and deeper hopes? Enter the Ten Commandments, the Decalogue. And in my study this week, I came across the thoughts of Reverend Erwin McManus. And my hope is that we will see the Big Ten in a different light, in a more holistic and aspiring form of living with God and each other. And as I dove into his understandings, what caught my eye was the first paragraph when he started the sentence with this: the Ten Commandments are the lowest possible standards of human living. Think about it. The lowest possible standards. Now, it's not that the behaviors ordered by God to the Israelites in the wilderness are not commendable. They are. It's not that the Decalogue isn't an excellent guide for human justice. They are. It's just that the Ten Commandments are not heaven's standards. It's just that the Ten Commandments are not the be-all and end-all of human achievement and thinking. That if we just plaster them all over the marketplace, we'll live in peace and harmony. It might be a start, like simple porridge, but falls well short of the present-day cereal aisle. McManus declares that anything below these standards is choosing to live like an animal. The Ten Commandments do not call us to an extraordinary spiritual life. They call us to stop dehumanizing one another. The law is the minimum of what it means to be human. Let me explain it this way. If we were to take the Ten Commandments and paraphrase them into the language of today, I think a few of them would read like this. One of them would say, "Hey, do you think you could stop killing one another? Could you knock it off? Stop killing one another." Now, friends, as I look at that, that's not the be-all. That's not the end-all of our faith. I doubt any of us goes to bed at night, puts our head on the pillows to say our prayers, and says to God, "Oh man, God, I nailed it today. Didn't kill anybody. Thought about it, but didn't kill anybody." That's not the highest level of spiritual achievement. Here's another one. It might read something like, "Could you just keep your hands off stuff that's not yours? Knock it off." I mean, that's not really way up here, is it? To not steal from someone? I think another one would read something like this. "Could you just stop talking bad about one another? Could you knock the gossip off? Could you not continually putting people down?" That's not way up here, my friends. It really isn't, because usually what happens is when two people are in a battle with one another, one of them goes to another person, and the semi-truth becomes enlarged falsehoods, and they go to this person not because they're friends, they're just partners in war now. Would you knock it off? I think is what the commandment would say. I'm sure none of us goes to bed and tells God, "I got this, didn't kill, didn't steal," and only talked positive about people. That's not an extraordinary leap, my dear friends. February 28, 1953, two men, James Watson and Francis Crick. Some of you just went back to Biology 101. Walked into a local pub in Cambridge, England, and announced to everyone in the pub that they had uncovered the secret of life. That secret of life is what we now know as the chemical structure of DNA. But 66 years later, we see this complex double helix structure much differently. Natalie Algier, the author of Science Times, points out that DNA is only the building block. It's the blueprint, the foundation, the bare bones, the 50-year-old cereal aisle of life. It's the proteins surrounding that DNA that provides life. If DNA is stripped of those proteins, it's helpless. When God offered the Israelites the Ten Commandments, God was providing a blueprint, the DNA of being human. That's it. The commandments spiraled around each other, 4 pertaining to our relationship to God, the other 6 to our relationship with one another, that would hopefully point us towards spiritual wholeness. Now here's the dichotomy. The dichotomy is that these commandments, they're only the basics, the foundation. But without them, we cannot build a stronger foundation that changes us and keeps us attuned to the divine. Let me give you an example. Let's look at commandment number 4. This dude sleeping? Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. The DNA of the 4th commandment is that we are created in the image of God, and even God rested on the 7th day. It's interesting that this command gave birth to Jewish social equality for the Sabbath, because it wasn't extended just to men in that patriarchal community. It was extended to the daughters, the servants, the immigrants, and the animals. The how and why we live out our times of Sabbath are the proteins that nourish our life, our Sabbath. It's how we become to understand that Sabbath is the very rhythm of life. And much like the wisdom writer in Ecclesiastes 3 shares, life should be a time of work and play, of labor and leisure, of breathing in and breathing out, of plowing and pillow. I never thought of this until I read these words in my study this week. The question was, what was creation's climactic culmination? It's the Sabbath. It's not the birds or the animals. It's not the fish. It's not even you and I. We're not the climax of it all. It's the Sabbath. It's understanding that this culmination was found in stopping. In Sabbath, we learn that silence teaches us meaning, and in stopping, we remember. And so this morning, we stop to remember. Remember the 10 Commandments. Not as the highest ascent of spiritual achievement, no. But as a basic truth in which to build as we learn to more fully love God, love each other, and love all of creation.